So the reason that I've chosen this quote to start the e-learning is simple. So many salespeople bash out hundreds of calls a day and run into gatekeepers and answering machines. All they have to do is get you off the phone, while you have to convince them that putting you through will be a valid use of their boss's time. Even then, what if they do connect you and the guy's unavailable? You get a voicemail. What happens when you actually get them on the phone? What do you do to get senior people to respond to you? Well, what you don't do is steam in unprepared with absolutely no idea about their business. And in this presentation, we'll talk about what you do. So, you might think that the product that your campaign is focused on is the best in the world. It may well be. Their products and benefits and features might be the best in the market. And yet, no one wants to take an appointment. None of your prospects' colleagues will connect with you. Well, the good news is that you don't need to take it personally, and it is no reflection on your product or the client campaign that you're working for. So let's look at some of the reasons why. C-level employees receive on average 300 marketing emails per day. On top of that, many C-level employees very often say that they're too busy to explore ways to improve their current systems, processes, and methodologies, despite the fact that they may be losing a lot of time and money. Deal with problems that haven't yet reached the crisis stage. Plan proactively for their future. Identify critical success factors within their business. Determine gaps in their operations. Implement much needed strategies. Now, if they are able to look at these issues, it's usually delegated to a team of people that they trust and work with every single day. People that they know have the company's best interest at heart. Now, there are 3 factors that are required in order to get a senior person in business from being a cold contact to allowing you the time to discuss your idea, product, or service. They are familiarity, need, and credibility. So let's take a look at the first one now, familiarity. So we all know what familiarity means. We have it with our friends, family, and even some colleagues. It's basically a relaxed friendliness or close acquaintance with a person or subject. It's one of the most important factors in influencing people, and when familiarity is not present, influence cannot exist. People tend to be more comfortable with what they know and understand. They tend to stick with familiar brands like IBM, for example, because they know they are reliable and they don't want to lose face by making a risky decision where they don't understand the consequences. For these types of people, not losing face is very, very, very important. They're in their position or role because they have a reputation for making good business decisions, and they also have the ability to lead thousands of people in a common task or to a common objective. They're being watched constantly, both within their organization by other employees, and they also have external pressures from shareholders and other stakeholders within their own business. If they take a call and speak to you for even 10 minutes, because they're so highly paid, they have to be certain that those 10 minutes will produce a return on investment and also have a tangible benefit to the business at the end of that time. That's why when you get them on the phone, you have 15 seconds to impress them or they will switch off. It's not because of you. So, like I said, you don't have to take it personally. They're just doing their job the best way they can. So, how do you get the person on the other end of the phone, or to whom you're sending an email to understand that you've understood this and that you're calling to have a mutually beneficial discussion with them? Well, you might be thinking asking questions is a good way to find out this information. Now, that might be great if your target job role is an IT manager or a system administrator. It's their job to know about the pains of the company at a granular level. C-level employees are only really interested in one or two key areas, such as being more efficient while spending less money, or making more money, increasing margins, high-level areas like that. If you call them up telling them that you can increase the speed on their WAN or make their I/O faster, they're unlikely to care. Now, you shouldn't mistake that for them not caring about their business, but it's because they don't immediately see how that will make their business more efficient or save money or make money. If you ask them questions to find out what their priorities are or what their strategy is for the year, they will not tell you. They have teams of consultants who they pay a lot of money to understand their priorities and what their strategy is. If they're already doing that and their own time costs a lot, how likely do you think they are to spend time telling someone who's just phoned up out of the blue that they don't know? So, how do we find out what it is that they need without asking them? Now, the good news is that there's information readily available that you can find simply and easily. You need this because corporate decision makers expect you to be conversant about their company and what the important topics are for them right now. They do not care about your product or service, only for what it can do for them. More specifically, what it can do for them specifically related to issues or strategies that they're working on currently. If you can show them that you care more about helping their business as opposed to just selling them something, their entire attitude towards you will change. You will have a real meaningful conversation about their business, and you'll be entirely different from all the other salespeople that they encounter. You will appear as senior as they are, and they will treat you like an equal. Now, I feel at this point it is worth mentioning that all of the principles described so far can and should be used in all of your interactions with C-level employees. If you get one of these people on the phone, then you will need to have a good reason for calling them. That is the importance of preparation. Though, without being able to interact with these people, remember that we already said that they're extremely busy, how do you show them everything that you've prepared to speak about? That's why we use email to grab attention and show that it's worth speaking to us, either ourselves or to the sales rep that we're making the appointment for. But what is the point in preparing all of this information if no one will ever see or hear it? We now need to look at ways in which we ensure the information gets across to the prospect, even if it doesn't result in a sale. Remember, this is an art, not a formula. There is no way to get a positive response rate 100% of the time. What we're working on is a way to increase the probability that someone will be interested or inclined to reply to your email. So, what is the first step in writing an email in order to get attention and get a response? The subject line. Imagine how people read their emails in work. If your subject line appears like spam or a marketing email, it will go straight to the trash folder. It could have all of the best information in the world, but unless it's opened, the content is pretty much useless. The examples shown give you a pretty good idea of what not to do with your subject line. On the left, this clever enterprising chap has sent an email to our ERMS sales email address disguised as a sales inquiry. Now, put yourself in the position of one of the ERMS sales team checking their email in the morning and find that they might have a potential new customer, only to open the email and realize that it is in fact an email trying to sell something to us. In fact, the person writing the email hasn't even bothered to personalize it. How would you feel in this situation? Would you trust this person? Would you be inclined to give him your business? Not even your personal business, but business has been entrusted to you by the place that you work. On the right, less sneaky, but a million times more irrelevant and unconcerned with the needs of their target business. Notice that both of the email subjects are written in the correct fashion as a title. with a capital letter on both words. This is mainly because marketing people think that their emails or their products are judged on grammar and punctuation. This is wrong. More familiar people don't care about punctuation and grammar. Put yourself in the position of the senior person you're trying to portray yourself as and act accordingly. Marketing people stick out like a sore thumb. So, how do we stand out in a good way and increase the chance that our emails will actually be opened? Now, as we've mentioned, the email subject is your one opportunity to grab attention and avoid the recycle bin. It doesn't matter if the grammar and punctuation is perfect. What matters is that the communication is relevant to your prospect and that you can say that in a concise way in the subject line. The subject line must be concise and relevant to the content of the email. Remember our friend with his sales inquiry that turned out to be more of a sales pitch? You're better not using any capital letters or exclamation or question marks, but you must make sure that the words you use are spelled correctly. If you tie the subject, remember, of course, being concise, to their business needs or to something familiar, such as John Smith suggested that we speak, then you'll increase the likelihood of getting your email opened. The reason that you need to keep your subject line concise is because you don't want the prospect to think that you're unable to put your thoughts across in a clear and concise way. If the subject line is 1,000 characters, then they're going to expect much more in the actual body of the email. The last thing that you want to avoid is discussing anything about your product or service or the benefits that it has. This is the quickest way to show the prospect that you're only interested in selling them something and that you don't actually care about what their business needs. Now, in these days of Twitter and Facebook, you need to realize that people do not read large chunks of text anymore. Everything in the modern world is cut up into chunks of 140 characters. When people see large pieces of text, at best, they will decide to read it later. At the very worst, they'll just delete it. That's why all of your emails need to be short and to the point. If you're struggling with this, you can always come back to the 4 points shown here. Why you're contacting them, social proof, such as including information on similar profile companies that your client is already working with, seniority, and a clear call to action. Now, you don't actually need to talk about your product or any of the benefits that you can provide. You need to find a hook in order to get them to sit up and take attention. Going back to knowing what their likely pains are, either by getting intelligence from elsewhere in the business or news stories, will help you with this. At the same time, you must remember, if you've done your research and taken the time to know what their pains are likely to be, then you're actually doing them a favor. That doesn't mean that you have to explicitly say that, but you need to ensure that your tone is not junior or subservient. Never thank anybody for taking the time or say please. And remember, that doesn't mean that you're being impolite. You're simply showing in a subtle way that your time is as important as theirs and making yourself appear rare, increasing the prospect's curiosity and interest. Now, you can track email responses and clicks with apps like Banana Tag or Sidekick. You can ask your team manager for more details on how to set this up. This e-learning is just a guide to help increase the probability that someone will open your email and respond positively. Use these principles and read other material and experiment to constantly improve your success rate. Best of luck and good hunting, guys.